Welcome to the first LinkedIn Live that I'm doing of 2022. I am Brienne Miller. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Habits at Work and a million other things, as I am a multi-passionate human being. And I'm really excited to be here with you today to discuss how to choose a guide word for 2022, because we're all about making things intentional, especially as we go into this year that, for me at least, already feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels much more expansive than the past few that we have all collectively encountered. So I am extremely thrilled to be here with you this beautiful, sunny, and snow-covered morning where I live. I'm hoping it's just as beautiful where you are today. And without further ado, I just want to dive right in. So what we're here for today is sharing an approach for selecting a guide word, which we'll get into a little bit more detail in a second. I'll share my guide word for 2022. And I'll also show you how to use your guide word and turn it into practicable habits. Okay, so first, before we dive into like what is a guide word and how do you choose one and all this stuff, I want to level set with you because this is going to be an amazing year. I can feel it. I hope you can feel it too. We have gone through the past few years, have been very tumultuous. They've been exhausting. They've been overwhelming. I know many people are traumatized and stressed out and burned out, and our nervous systems are just fried. So deeply breathe here with me, because 2022 is going to offer us a new choice. It is, in numerology, a collective 6 year. If you know anything about that, you know. If not, we're not going to spend a lot of time on what that is and why it comes about, all of that. Just to say that this year is about relationships, responsibility, and deep healing. It is about choosing yourself, taking care of yourself, filling up your cup, being gentle with yourself so that you can have right relationship with yourself and therefore right relationship with others and create an amazing impact that ripples out into the world. The dark side of a 6 year is it can bring out shame, emotions, difficult processing time, because it's going to ask us to confront some things that we have been allowing to run on autopilot. We've been a little unconscious to some things, and 2022 is going to offer us the opportunity and give us the responsibility of putting an end to, of integrating, of having compassion for, and grace, of going through some grief and loss, of course, for ways of being, for who we have been in the past, for things that we have done, or things that we felt we should do and we didn't. And it's going to allow us to just have a new lease on life. It's a huge opportunity for growth if we choose it. So a 6 year is represented by 2 major arcana cards in the tarot deck. And if you know anything about tarot, fantastic. Again, I'm not going to go super deep into what the major arcana is, any of that stuff, only to tell you that the major arcana represents archetypes along a hero's journey. And the first archetype that we explore in a 6 year is the Lovers. The Lovers is, maybe about relationships, of course, but it's really about balance and harmony and union. It's about following your heart, choosing love, leading with love, being in love as an action, and trusting yourself. I'll say that one again. Trusting yourself. That's huge this year. The other archetype that we explore, we have a dynamic of 2 here this year, is the devil. No, it's not like devil from Christianity. This is forces of desire, indulgence, resulting in, like I said earlier, growth or bondage. And what I mean by bondage is almost like we're numbing to or we're addicted to our certain behaviors, patterns, addictions, habits, cycles. And those things are keeping us in bondage. They're keeping us stuck. So here again, I'm touching on this theme of we are going to be confronted with an opportunity to examine our habits, our patterns, our cycles, all of our beliefs that we are keeping ourselves stuck with this year. And if we do the work and allow ourselves to see this as an opportunity for growth, then it's going to be an amazing year. It's going to be, what do we call it? Beautifully painful, maybe, but at least beautifully, not just painful like the last few years. So keep those archetypes in mind as you embark on this year. Huge opportunity for growth. Trust yourself. Be gentle with yourself and take care of yourself. Now let's dive into what the heck is a guide word and why do we pick one? How do we pick one? How do we use it? What's an example? So I'm going to show you right now. The reason why we choose a guide word is because the traditional approach and what most people do doesn't actually work. Most people decide that they're going to choose a New Year's resolution, or maybe they create an outcome goal or something like that. But the hard truth is that 92% of New Year's resolutions are unsuccessful. 92%. That means 8% of people are walking around having achieved their New Year's resolution. Those are not great odds. Okay. You've all experienced this. Everybody gets really gung-ho in January. They go sign up for the gym membership. They start a new course. They do all the things. They put all the stuff on their plate. They have all this Capricorn energy. And then February comes and the gym is empty already. We're all back to our own vices and addictions and we're in bondage again. Why? Why does this always happen? It's because we are shoulding on ourselves. So we need to quit that. I'm asking you to say no to New Year's resolutions, to say no to outcome goals because they feel us leaving overwhelmed, full of shame and regret. Why is that? Well, it's because a New Year's resolution is usually unrealistic, right? We usually have 20 to 30 of them, maybe 5 if you're lucky, but we want to do all of the things. We want to read 52 books. We want to lose 50 pounds. We want to stop smoking. We want to save money. We want to save the children. We want to do all of the things. They're also vague as hell. Okay, so I should lose weight is not something that's actionable. It's also externally driven for the most part, which means we are looking to external expectations, society's influence on what we should be doing, how we should fit in, what success looks like, what our year should look like if we're being good and making progress. And this means that ultimately, when the rubber meets the road, we have zero connection to the purpose, the intention of this goal or resolution, or honestly, just like the emotional connection to it. And so it's really easy for us to falter. And that is why you sign up for the gym in January and in February, you're out of there. There's many reasons, but you start to look at it as another thing that's on your list, another to-do item, another thing you should do. And then you start to resent it. And instead of being this limitless, empowering source of motivation and energy and purpose for you, it becomes this weight. It's another thing that you put in your backpack that you carry around with you and your shoulders are hunched over that you have to do, not something that you want to do or get to do in life. So instead, I urge you to create a guide word. A guide word is intentional. You want a certain outcome, but it's really about the journey and not the outcome itself. So an example here is you want to feel more peace in your life. That's still very vague, yes. But instead of being vague, we look at guide words as being limitless. They contain way more possibility than a particular goal does. Think about how silly it feels sometimes to make goals at work because a month later they don't make sense anymore. It's the same in life. We make these goals, we spend so much time planning, and then the universe laughs at us. We cannot predict what's happening. We pretend like we have control over things, and we don't. So one way to be more fluid is to have an intention instead of a goal that's focused on a practice, that's focused on the journey instead of the outcome itself. Surely you can still have an intentional outcome like a feeling of peace. And that definition would be different for everyone. However, we are seeing peace as an outcome that is limitless. There are infinite ways that you could get there, as opposed to prematurely narrowing it to doing it a certain way to achieve a certain outcome. So when we have a guide word and an intention, our scope is much wider, much more expansive. There are many more ways to get there. And as a result, we don't get derailed if things change. The goalpost is never moving when it comes to a guide word. And finally, they're internally driven. This is huge. We start with why here. This is aligning to your inner purpose, your values, and your vocation as a human, your calling. This is the guide word approach to basically being your purpose in life and achieving your vision for yourself and what success looks like from an internal source. So if you haven't done work around your own values, what your purpose is, what your vocation is in life, I urge you to do that as well. And now is a great time to do that. It's a lifelong practice, I will tell you. But for now, we're just going to focus on the guide word. Let's keep going. Now, what actually is a guide word? A guide word is simply an intention. It's a theme for the year. And I like to look at it as a North Star. It's actually allowing you to anchor and kind of hook to and align with an intention all of your decisions, choices, actions, habits, if you make goals this year, and efforts so that you can live in alignment and with more integrity. So this is really about being meta and drilling it down into a tiny little aspect of being meta and being micro, I guess. Like, what is the meta version of you and your life, your values, your purpose, your vocation? How do you be that? Using a guide word can help you guide yourself through the year to be aligned with those things. Okay, so one of the things I promised was we'd talk about how to actually pick a guide word. I'm using a Harry Potter quote because it's fresh on my mind. I just rewatched all the movies over the holiday break, of course, and there's that beautiful 20th anniversary reunion that just came out on HBO. So it's fresh in my mind, but this is the perfect way to put this. The wand chooses the wizard. Because these are internally guided and not externally sourced, we're not looking for shoulds here. We're not looking for, what other people think we should do, what society says this year is about. We really want to focus on something that's coming through for us, a theme that keeps presenting itself to us in our lives. So allow your guide word to present itself to you. Our words are so powerful. We are language meaning-making machines as humans, And you may have heard this before, but our words are wands. It's called spelling for a reason. We literally cast spells and create the world around us through our words and our language. And so allow this word to present itself to you. Allow your guide word to choose you so that you can then create the year that is so intentionally connected to it. So here are a couple ways that you can do that. You can ask for your guide word to be revealed to you and then go to sleep. And then in the morning, maybe do a little free writing to see if anything is coming through, or maybe the next day something will pop into your mind effortlessly, or maybe you'll leap out of bed with the guide word coming out of your mouth. Who knows? Another way is to ask for guidance on your word and then meditate. Sometimes when we get very still, we can really tap in and things get very clear for us. So something might come out of a meditation. That's really good. Or if you're the type of person that really likes to move and meditation is difficult for you to stay focused, maybe ask for guidance on your word and then go do something like wash the dishes or work out or whatever it is, and allow your mind to wander. Allow it to not be focused on trying to solve the problem of finding your guide word. Perhaps something will come up for you. Now, there might be a word that you keep seeing or hearing from other people or thinking about. You see it in the newspaper, if people still read those. It's coming across in a book that you're reading. Someone's saying it, and it's a very arbitrary word that you would never typically hear in a conversation, and yet you've heard it 3 times this week. Pay attention to the words that keep entering your sphere. What word is presenting itself to you? What themes are coming across? And finally, reflect on what you need, not on what you think you should have, should be, or should do. Maybe looking back over the last few years that have been particularly tough and challenging for many, think about what you need, how you've come so far along on your journey so far, and perhaps what is the next step in your journey, in your growth, in your evolution? What do you need? So I am going to share with you now my own personal guide word for the year. My guide word typically just presents itself to me. It comes across in many messages, and it might not all be something that's happening, like right now, today, this week. But perhaps it's been something that I have been hearing, a word that I don't typically use ever. And people are using it and saying it in messages. About, I want to say 4 months ago, I heard someone say, what's coming through for me right now is refinement. It's like, that's a strange word to just randomly pull out of the ether. Refinement. What the heck? And several months later, it now is the word that keeps showing up in my world, in my view, in my mind. Refine, refine, refine. Okay, so why am I picking that word? This past year, I have totally rewired my nervous system. I have been working on connecting to and grounding in my body, doing a Kundalini practice, doing somatic experiencing training, doing reflexology, just really being in my body. I've also gone from proving my worth through my work, how much I could produce and do and serve others, to simply being worthy, simply loving myself just because I'm here. Not having to earn something by producing. And so those two things together have meant that I have totally rewired this whole system. As a result, I'm super sensitive to everything now. Noise, crowds, stimulants like alcohol or caffeine. It's just like this machine is getting purer and purer as I continue to heal it. And anytime something that doesn't jive with it anymore comes into contact with it, it causes a disruption. And it's really difficult to deal with. And so I am dedicated to working on refining this year. So I'm not going to have goals. I'm not going to have measurable steps. I'm not going to chart them on a map. I am simply going to live my year through the lens of refine. Something that I can think about on a daily, on a minute by minute basis. So refining is all about like bringing or reducing to a pure state. It's a condition of kind of like without flaw. And I'm not trying to be perfect here. It is simply like tuning my instrument, something that I've never spent time on in my whole life is really getting into the body like I've done last year. And now this year, like really diving into what exactly do I need? What schedules or support systems will help me? What are the routines that will give me flexibility and freedom instead of feel restrictive like they have in the past? So, how did I get there? There were a lot of words that came around: attunement, refine, distilling, purifying, cleansing, clearing myself, only going after the essential, getting rid of the clutter. But this one word just really kept hitting me over the head. And so I did what any geek does. I went and I researched the origins of the word. And it became very clear to me that refine was indeed the word that I needed this year. So it's really about going back to the original place, being new again. And that sense of reconnecting with this body machine as a human seems to be really connected in there for me. And then fine, being this pure, free of impurity, true, genuine, constant, I'm thinking over to myself, grounded, honed, not perfect, but attuned, in tune, resonant, and refined. So I just wanted to share my guidebook with you. I shared this last night with a few girlfriends, and I think in my sharing, several of them had epiphanies or insights around their own guide words. And so I didn't mean to belabor and spend too much time on my own and get a little bit, emotional here and connected, but it's really important to share, because in sharing our own experiences, our own experiences are universal. We think that we are unique snowflakes, and in some ways we are. But in other ways, we can all see ourselves in each other. So my sharing of my own personal guide word hopefully has inspired some thinking, or maybe a new word you've picked out of the ether will help you choose your own. So now I am going to talk to you very quickly, because I know we've only been going for 23 minutes. I'm going to talk to you very quickly about what do you actually do with the guide word now that you've got it? Because, we could do what we do with everything as humans, which is that we get busy and we get distracted. And then it's something that, we talked about once in January, like a New Year's resolution, and then we kind of forget about it. So some of my favorite things to do are: one, share it to the world. So I declare it. So I would urge you, if you choose your guide word, to actually share it with others, share it with your family in a conversation, share it in a post on LinkedIn, whatever feels authentic to you, share it, speak it, cast your spell out into the world with your guide word. The other thing is to actually make it visible to yourself as a reminder. So this could look like something as simple as putting a sticky note on your mirror with your word on it. I have definitely done this over the years. I've got a whole medicine cabinet inside door filled with sticky notes. Every morning I see them open, tender, connected. Now I can add refine. Another way to do this is maybe wearing it. We have a great society now where you can get custom everything made for you. Maybe you have a bracelet that says your guide word on it. Maybe you find a shirt that has it on it. Maybe you don't wear it on your body, but it's somewhere else that you're seeing it constantly. You could create a phone or desktop computer wallpaper that says your word on it. That's a pretty good one too. Or maybe you keep it in your journal and you check in with your journal every day. The word is at the top of the page, and it's just a simple reminder. Okay, how else do you use this? How can you turn it into something that's a little bit more tangible if you prefer? One of my favorite ways to go about creating a new habit, and one of the way that I think works the most, honestly, is that we take something like a guide word, refine. We first define what that means to us. I shared with you the dictionary definition, the word origin, all of those things. But if I sit with myself, I'm going to have a slightly unique definition on what I think my guide word means. So once you pick your guide word, I would say sit for a few minutes and actually take some notes around what does that mean to you? What does refine mean? Like I said, to me, it's being really attuned and grounded in my body. That wasn't part of the dictionary definition, but that is my definition around what I mean by refine. So first is defining the thing on your terms. Second is, okay, now that I have a really clear picture of what it means. So if what it means is I'm attuned, I'm in tune, I'm grounded in my body, I have desired outcomes there. I've literally, in the definition, created a desired feeling or desired state for myself. Now, it's not something to just pursue ruthlessly until I achieve those things. Those things that I've just articulated are a practice. Being grounded in your body is not an end state, it is a continuous practice. So when you look at desired outcomes as a way of being or a practice as opposed to an end state only, it allows you to then break that further down into what does my practice look like? What does being grounded in my body look like? If I had to pick out observable, specific, discernible behaviors or habits that I could create over time, what would those be? Now is the time to brainstorm. If being grounded in your body is the desired outcome that you want, that helps you be refined, then what are the specific behaviors? So it might be like actually sitting on the ground, putting my feet on the grass, roughhousing with dogs and snuggling. It might be meditating in the morning every day, being in the sauna. I could go on and on and on. And the point here is that you can go on and on and on, because what we've done is we've opened a limitless box for ourselves. Great paradox there. Around our guide word, being refined, even being grounded in your body, could be limitless number of things and a limitless number of habits that you could create. So brainstorm them, find those, and then choose one to go to work on, one to start to create, one to start to hone your practice, and then choose another, and then choose another, and then choose another. And then you'll wake up at the end of the year having practiced and being totally grounded in your body, achieved a new state of refinement. So that's the point here. Guide word. From guide word, we decide what it actually means to us. In that definition, we create desired outcomes, like having a grounded body. And these desired outcomes are a journey, a process. And in that process or practice, we have individual tiny habits that we can practice. Meditating 5 minutes a day, for example. That's what we go to work on. That's how you can use your guide word to turn it into practicable habits. And we've talked about how you can actually presence it in your environment so there's no chance of forgetting it. So now when you think my guide word, refine, it means meditate 5 minutes a day. It means create a morning practice. It means whatever these things are to you. So I hope that this has been extremely helpful. This is what I have found the best way to make your year intentional so that you're aligned with your values and your purpose and your vocation as a human. And you really, over the period of time of being gentle with yourself and choosing growth, actually come into the person that you are here to be. Thanks for joining me.